Cheers to the new year. I'm Tarek Brown, President and CEO of CICOA Aging and In-Home Solutions, and I'm here to help you kick off 2021 with a bang. After the year we've just been through, I know we're all ready for a fresh start. And while hope is on the way for recovery from this global pandemic, we are not out of the woods yet, as we wait on the rollout of the vaccines. So while you stay socially distant and hunkered down in your homes for a few months longer, we wanted to offer something fun to do each month, something we're calling Cabin Fever Cures. Our focus for January is on celebrating the new year. So we have partnered with Harry and Izzy's Steakhouse in Indianapolis to demonstrate how to make a few classic cocktails at home. But first, a brief commercial. If you are new to CICOA, let me tell you that under normal circumstances, we talk about staying home as a good thing. CICOA is a not-for-profit agency in Central Indiana that helps seniors and people of any age with a disability have the option of remaining comfortably and safely in their own home and out of institutional care. A lot of things can impact whether someone can live at home or at least make it more difficult to do so safely. Things like mental health, the ability to take medications correctly, the ability to source and prepare meals and feed yourself, the ability to move safely around the home, and the ability to care for oneself, toileting, bathing, dressing, things most of us take for granted, but can become more difficult with age or disability. We know most people want to live in their own home for as long as they can, and CICOA is here to help make that possible by coordinating and providing supportive in-home services. Things like nutritious meals, transportation, home accessibility modifications, and case management for in-home care. Remaining in your home, in your own community, means having greater independence and greater comfort, and with proper supports in place, also results in better health outcomes. So if you have questions about long-term care needs or are providing care for a loved one with physical, intellectual, or developmental disabilities, please call our Aging and Disability Resource Center today at 317-803-6131. Now, back to our Cabin Fever Cure for January. Our bartender and instructor for the evening is Brock Williams. Brock has been bartending for more than 10 years and is an open bartender at Harry and Izzy's Steakhouse on the north side, which means he literally prepares for the entire day of service before anyone else gets there, juicing fresh lemons, limes, and orange juice, as well as preparing anything needed for Harry and Izzy's fantastic signature cocktails. So let's listen and learn from a pro.
Hi, welcome to Harry and Izzy's. My name is Brock, I'm one of the bartenders here, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a couple of our signature cocktails. Let's get started. This first cocktail is absolutely one of my favorites. I'm a giant Scotch guy, so let's get right into it. First thing we're going to need is an ice sphere. You can either make these at home. Home's Goods, I have the little thing you can buy that you can freeze ice cube in there. We actually buy ours from a store. Second thing you're going to need is a jigger. This is to ensure that we're doing exact pour counts so that you can replicate a recipe exactly. The other thing we're going to need is our ingredients for the drink. First, we have monkey shoulder, which is a Scotch. We also have Luxardo cherry liqueur and Di Serrano. Let's get started. We're going to build this cocktail almost as a layer cake. The first thing we're doing is 2-ounce pour of the monkey shoulder. Pour this right over the top of the ice sphere. You're going to see how it kind of bubbles underneath. There's going to be space breaking down as the alcohol actually melts that ice cube. Next thing we're going to do is a full ounce of Di Serrano. We're going to build this right on top, 1 ounce exactly. And then to finish, we're going to do a 1/4 ounce, which is in my experience just a tiny little splash for color, of Luxardo cherry. We'll pour that right over the top, and you can see how that color builds all together. What you're wanting it to look like is almost exactly like this, where it's a dissipated layer between each individual alcohol that we have in there. And finally, we garnish with a Luxardo cherry. Cheers. People often ask me when they're sitting at the bar, what is the most popular drink that I make? I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the most popular drink asked for is an old fashioned. Today I'm gonna show you how we make our old fashioned. First thing we're gonna need is a highball glass. In that highball glass, we're gonna take a slice of orange, a muddler, and smash it down just a little bit. You don't need to go too intense. A, you don't wanna break your glass. You don't want any glass in the cocktail. And two, it doesn't really do you any good after you press it down anyway. So now we have our muddled orange. We're gonna take our bitters. Now at Harry & Izzy's, we use a decanted bitter for an old fashioned, and a lot of bars, a lot of homes, you're gonna see orange bitters. This is gonna bring out a little bit more depth of flavor than your average orange bitters that you'll find in an old fashioned. 2 to 3 dashes of your bitters, and then we're gonna take our bourbon. In this case, we're using Knob Creek Rye, which is our house, for this specific drink. An old fashioned is 2.5 ounces of bourbon. So that's 2 ounces. 1 more half. And then 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. Simple syrup is very easy to make. All you need to do is equal parts sugar and water. You want the water to almost be boiling. We'll take 1/2 ounce of that simple syrup, pour right over the top. The next thing we need is a bar spoon in which we can roll the drink over a couple times. You're just adding all that flavor together. Then we take one of our ice spheres, set it down, and you're actually gonna pour directly over the top of this ice sphere. You wanna give it just a second so that falls all the way down. And the point of straining it out is so that you're not gonna get all that orange that we muddled in anyway. All we're looking for is the background flavor, not the seeds, not the peel, not anything like that. Next thing we do, and probably the most important part of an old fashioned in terms of presenting it, is how it looks. We're gonna take our peeler. You wanna start from the orange at the very top and try to go all the way down to the bottom in one turn. You then take that orange, you rub it around the rim of the glass, and for my own personal taste, I like to make a little floret. We're then going to take our Luxardo cherry, stick it right in the center, present it right on the side, and that is our Harry & Izzy's Pops Old Fashioned. One of the most requested martinis that I get on a daily basis is a perfect, slightly dirty martini. I'm gonna teach you how to do it, and it's actually pretty cool. First thing we're going to do is we're gonna take 3/4 of an ounce of olive juice. We're gonna pour it over ice in a highball, and take your martini shaker. So what we're doing now is we're just shaking that olive juice. What's happening is the olive juice is actually going to cling to that ice, and we're going to pour the olive juice out. That olive juice has stuck to the ice cubes, and once we add our vodka, which in this case is Tito's, our most popular vodka by far, and we're doing a 3-ounce pour, but as we're pouring this vodka in here, it's actually going to be melting the olive juice that has clung to those ice cubes. Melting that olive juice and that whey off of there is going to make it just that background flavor. You know, the other important part about a martini is how you shake it. You can either stir it, but if you do shake it, which is the most common practice behind a bar, you don't want to crush the ice, you want to roll the ice. So if you can see how my hand is moving, it's a slow up and down motion. It's not just back and forth. And what we're left with is a perfectly slightly dirty martini. And here in Izzy's, that gets garnished with our hand-stuffed blue cheese olives. Cheers. This next cocktail I'm gonna show you is really just more fun than anything else, and it's perfect with dessert. A lot of people that come in here are full by the time their meal is over, and rather than having another piece of chocolate cake or ice cream or our famous Woodford Reserve bread pudding, they often say, is there a dessert cocktail that I can get? And I've got the perfect one for you. We're gonna use Stoli vanilla. We're gonna use two different types of Godiva. One is dark chocolate and one is regular chocolate. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pour 2 ounces of Stoli vanilla into a highball, followed by 1 ounce each of these types of Godiva. One is dark chocolate, one is regular chocolate. Now the next thing I like to do is I take a little bit of chocolate syrup, and we're just gonna make a real pretty design. Just for a little color, just for a little bit of fun, just to show off a little bit. Those are all okay when they're entertaining, right? Take our martini. Now remember, when you're shaking a martini, we roll it. You don't just shake it back and forth. Now that we're nice and cold, pour over our chocolate syrup design. And now we have a perfectly delicious dessert chocolate martini. Cheers.
Thank you, Brock, for showing us how it's done. I'm a fan of Scotch myself, so I'm definitely going to try the Godfather. We're going to come back to Brock in a moment for some advice on how to set up and stock a bar at home. But you know, after you mix a drink and before you clink glasses, it's tradition to make a toast to honor those with you and offer blessings for their health and happiness. Do you have a favorite toast? Here's my favorite for this crazy year. To all the Groundhog Days, all 365 of them. If you are enjoying this presentation, we hope you will share it with your friends and family. We're also asking that you donate the price of your favorite drink to CICOA to support services for seniors during this pandemic. All of the drinks shown sell for around $15, so we invite you to donate now to make sure isolated older adults get the help they need to get through this continuing crisis. Just click on the link provided in the comments and don't forget to tip your bartender. We also invite you to make a New Year's resolution to get involved supporting CICOA's mission. Your time is a valuable gift to share that makes a big impact. We currently are offering telephone reassurance as a volunteer opportunity. Friendly phone calls are a great way to make a personal, positive difference for others and to help fight social isolation. Thank you for your support, and now back to our guest bartender, Brock, who will give us a few tips about how to set up and stock a bar at home.
One of the biggest questions I get when I'm behind the bar is, how do I set up my home bar? How do I have my bar have the feel of a real bar? How do I have the things that I need in order to entertain, in order to make the drinks that both I want to make and that my guests want to make? Well, I can give you a couple of professional hints. If you want your bar to look as professional as ours, there's just one thing you need to learn. With, like with like. Here, we start with our bourbon, moving all the way across to our private selects. Next line, we have vermouth, starting with vodka through gin. On this side, we have our rye bourbon, followed by our scotches. On the bottom, we then have cordials all the way down as well. Like with like, with, and your bar is gonna look just as great as ours. Now, what you have in your house obviously is up to you. I like to have a vodka, I like to have a bourbon, I like to have a tequila, and then I like to have a couple of cordials in the house. I like Godiva White and Dark for my cordials. I like Tito's for my tequila, or Tito's for my vodka. I like Casamigos for my tequila. What you have is up to you, and it depends on what you want to make. But in order to make drinks the way that we're going to make it in the restaurant, you're going to need the proper glassware, and you're also going to need the proper additives. Now, first are the additives. Bitters are some of your best friends in terms of making a cocktail. We have decanted bitters, which we use for old fashions. We have orange bitters, which we use for Manhattans. And then we have Euclid bitters, which is just an aromatic bitter that we add to all sorts of different cocktails when you want a different specific kind of flavor, most often in a Sazerac. The other thing you're gonna need to be aware of is glassware that you need to have in the house to make drinks. First, we have our martini glass. Obvious, right? The other thing that we do that you might want to do at home, is put your martini glasses in a freezer. I know that when I hand somebody an ice cold martini in an ice cold glass, then not only are they happy, but my tips go up as well. Not that you're gonna get tipped at your house, but still, people appreciate good service. Other part of glassware we have are a highball. This is gonna be for your Jack and Coke, Captain and Coke, any of those kind of 2 ingredients cocktails. Next, we have a snifter, which is what we're gonna use for our liqueurs. So we have Louis the 13th up at the top. I don't expect anybody to be breaking out Louis at home, but if you do, we're gonna be using a snifter. Next thing we have, obviously, is a pint glass. We have a tap here. Some people have taps at their home, but either way, a beer is always a good thing to be able to put in somebody's hand. Finally, the last piece of glassware that I would recommend you just have in the house is just a short rocks glass. This is gonna be for your vodka on the rocks. This is gonna be for your bourbon neat. This is gonna be for any of those straight liquor drinks that you're going to be making for the most part. Now, a couple of the tools that we're gonna need in order to perform the job are a martini shaker. We're also going to need a regular strainer. This is going to be for your old fashions, for some of your martinis, some other things like that. One that I really love to have in the house is a fine strainer. If you end up making a mojito or anything with muddled fruit or leaves or anything that you want to actually fine strain out that a regular strainer is not going to get, we fine strain through this. Last 2 things that I would just suggest to have, bar spoon, muddler, and last but not least, my favorite tool, the thing that makes me show up the most, is my peeler. You learn how to peel and present a drink nicely, and it's gonna look just as professional at your house as it does in my office.
Wow, I learned a lot. Thank you, Brock, for showing us how to bring some holiday cheer to the new year. Thank you also to Harry and Izzy's for partnering with us in our first Cabin Fever Cures event. Not only is the restaurant one of Indy's premier dining experiences, we have learned also that Harry and Izzy's has been delivering meals to first responders since the shutdown started back in March of 2020. So in addition to being known for great food and great drinks, we also appreciate the way they have continued giving back to the community throughout this pandemic. And finally, we wish to thank you for joining us in ringing in the new year and helping to bring some light and hope to others. Don't forget to check back in February for our next Cabin Fever Cure with some ideas for a Valentine's date with that special someone. Until then, let's continue making 2021 better and brighter future. Cheers.